Uh, anyone would like to chant Hare
Krishna
Krishna?
Mahamantra, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, Lalita Vinodini Mataji.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Mataji, sorry, you want to sing Hare Krishna Mahamantra Kirtan, Srila Prabhupada's tune? You can. Yes.
I'll try, Prabhuji. I'll try.
Lalita, Mataji, you want to sing?
Let her continue, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yes, Prema Priya Mataji, you please continue.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is it all right? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Do I continue, Prabhuji?
Just one minute.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ji, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtapraeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuromilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta-pada-kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vamcha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Welcome all the Prabhujis, Matajis in this morning's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam as part of the Bhakti Vaibhav course. Let me share the screen and mark attendance. Are you all already able to view the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right, fine. So last time we discussed as part of the concluding portion of chapter 8, which is Kunti Stuti, how when Lord Krishna was about to depart, so many things happened, including Uttara coming to Lord Krishna in great desperation, seeking Krishna's help to save the child, to protect the child within the womb. And after Krishna protected Maharaj Parikshit within the womb of Uttara, Kunti Devi expressing her heartfelt gratitude and prayers to Lord Krishna in terms of explaining his position, taking herself at her own humble position in terms of inability to understand Krishna out of her humility, explaining how Krishna has been so favorable to her and the Pandava family, taking them through, protecting them through all the difficult situations, and even comparing her own great fortune compared to other great devotees related to the Lord, like Mother Devaki, and explaining how Krishna is always very, very attentive to protect those who are in greater danger, provided the devotee takes shelter of Lord Krishna. And finally, praying to Lord Krishna to let her mind be completely absorbed towards him, completely absorbed in him, and let the knots of material relationships, both with the family on her husband's side, the Kurus, as well as the family on her maternal side, the Vrishnis, the knots of material affection be cut, and let her mind flow towards Lord Krishna, just as Mother Ganges continuously and naturally flows towards the ocean. And then we saw when Lord Krishna accepted the prayers of Mother Kunti and he slightly smiled at her, then Yudhishthir Maharaj, finally he comes to Lord Krishna to say goodbye, but then Maharaj Parikshit is also overwhelmed by separation and he requests Krishna to stay back for a few more days. And Lord Krishna subsequently fulfills the desire of Maharaj Parikshit by staying with the Pandavas for few more days. And in this time, we see that Lord Krishna, he is acting both as a Paramatma within Maharaj Yudhishthir by not letting him be convinced of the logic and the reasoning that Lord Krishna was presenting, where Maharaj Yudhishthir, out of his great humility, was considering himself responsible for the massacre, for the killing of so many thousands and lakhs and crores of people. To be exact, Srila Prabhupada gives the number at around 64 crore of the Kshatriyas in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Yudhishthir feels that his aspiration and greed for the throne of the whole world was the reason for the killing of so many people on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And though that particular battle of Kurukshetra it was conducted only based on the sole sanction, desire, and will of the Lord. So Lord was not only the sanctioner, but he was actively encouraging the Pandavas led by Arjun to fight this battle on his behalf for his cause that we saw in the Bhagavad Gita as well. And we also concluded our last chapter discussion by explaining how Lord was acting internally to not let Maharaj Yudhishthir be convinced of the reason and the logic that Krishna was presenting outside, because Lord Krishna wanted Yudhishthir Maharaj to get the guidance from none other than Bhishma Pitamaha. and through Maharaj Yudhishthir, also all of us to hear from Bhishma Pitamaha how to understand this world and how to conduct oneself according to our occupational duties of Varna and Ashram. So specifically for Maharaj Yudhishthir, it meant how to rule the kingdom in a dharmic way, in the way of, in alignment with the religious principles. So we will see these details as part of this chapter 9, which is the passing of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna. So any devotees have any comments, questions from our earlier discussion? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Anyone has any comments, questions, inputs to share? All right. So let us start with text 1. Any devotee would like to recite through, and we specifically encourage devotees who have typically not recited. Hare Krishna, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
46.
46.
46. The last line. Prabhupada writes, saying that Bhishma is the most intelligent, is the most knowledgeable, even more than me. I mean, what is the import of that?
Yes, Prabhuji. So here exact line what is mentioned in the last part of the purport of 1846. Besides this, the Lord also desired that King Yudhishthir be pacified by the words of Bhishma Dev, so that the world could see that Bhishma Dev excelled all in knowledge, including the Lord himself. So there is always a transcendental competition between the Lord and his pure devotee, where the Lord wants to glorify the pure devotee and the pure devotee wants to glorify the Lord. And Lord's ultimate pleasure, just like the pleasure of a loving father, is to see the child even excel himself. Similarly, nobody can excel the Lord because he is the Supreme Lord, full with all potencies to the complete degree. But Krishna wants to glorify his pure devotees to such an extent to show to the world that, look, my devotee is even better than me. Like we see in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he empowered Arjuna to do so many feats, magical feats in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where he came out victorious against so many Maharathis. Or in the discussion between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai on the banks of Godavari River. What is that district? Is it Rajamundri in Andhra Pradesh, near the bank of Godavari River, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had conversation with Ramananda Rai, asking him so many questions, and he empowered Srila Ramananda Rai, who happens to be none other than Vishakha Sakhi in Krishna Lila, to answer all those questions. So sometimes Lord Krishna, out of his great affection for his devotees, empowers the devotee for them to look even better than him in front of the world. But we can understand, potency wise, nobody can excel Lord Krishna. It is only his affection for the devotee that he empowers them for their glorification. Is that all right, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. And even in that conversation which Sri Ramananda Rai mentions to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, my dear Lord, it is you who are inspiring me from within to give specific answer to the questions you are asking. So you are the one asking the questions and you are the one also empowering me to answer those questions. So it is the Supreme Lord himself who is the source of the ability for the devotees. So let's proceed. Any devotee would like to chant the first verse? Devika Shetty Mataji. 1 second, let me make you code.
Not shown on the screen, Prabhuji.
Not shown on the screen? Okay, 1 second.
Only the first screen is visible.
Okay, 1 second. Give me 1 minute. I want to make few devotees as co-host. Dr. Prakash. Okay, Ishwari Murari Priya Mataji Jagadananda Prabhu, I'm making you as well co-host. So
Okay.
just help monitor the background if there are any background sound.
Okay.
Okay. Devika Mataji, you would like to sing the verse?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Suta uvacha.
Suta Uvacha.
Not still shared on the screen.
Not yet. Okay, okay. Hang on. 1 second.
Stop sharing, yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Iti bhita prajo drohat. Sarvadharma vivitsaya. Tato vinashanam pragat. Yatra devarato apatat.
Translation.
Yes. Suta Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaja Yudhishthira went to the scene of the maskara. There, Bhishmadeva was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. Should I
Thank
continue?
you. Yeah, so we'll just take a pause to discuss few things. So specific guilt felt by Maharaj Yudhishthir was that whenever a single soldier gets killed in the battlefield, it is not just the soldier, but especially the soldier's family, wife, she becomes a widow. The mother becomes sonless. Like at least even if the mother has multiple children, that particular child is lost, or the sister becomes brotherless, and so on and so forth. So with each of the soldier getting killed, the pain and the pain caused to the hearts of so many women and the family, so many children became fatherless, so many women became unprotected. That was specific worry of Maharaj Yudhishthir. And he mentioned that all this bad karma that would get accrued because of this greed for the kingdom that I had, it is not possible to counteract that even with any of the animal sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. And subsequently, we will see that finally, Lord Krishna takes Maharaj Yudhishthir along with the Pandavas in a very, very peculiar, in a very, very special manner to the battlefield of Kurukshetra for the one single reason that will be clear in text number 2 and 3. So you can start the purport now, Mataji.
Yes, sir. In this 9th chapter, as it is willed by Lord Sri Krishna, Bhishmadeva will impart instruction to King Yudhishthira on the subject of occupational duties.
Continue.
Continue, Prabhu.
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Bhishmadeva will also offer his last prayer to the Lord on the verge of passing away from this mortal world and thus become liberated from the bondage of further material engagements. Bhishmadeva was endowed with the power of leaving his material body at will, and his lying down on the bed of arrows was his own choice. This passing away of the great warrior attracted the attention of all the contemporary elites, and all of them assembled there to show their feelings of love, respect, and affection for the great soul. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So as it will be clear in the next few verses, all the great personalities assembled there, including Bhishmadev's half-brother, Srila Vyasadeva, as well as great sages from the Saptarshis, including Vasishtha, including Vishwamitra, Jamadagni, and even Shukadev Goswami is mentioned as one of the attendees, one of the great Brahmarshis who assembled there to witness the passing away of this great soul Bhishmadev and to offer their respects to this great personality Bhishmadev. So the detailed list is mentioned as part of the verses also. Can we quickly check how many devotees did get a chance to go through these texts and read through Srila Prabhupada's purport? Did
Prabhu, all of us did till 11 last
okay,
week.
Okay,
Hare Krishna.
okay. Thank you, Mataji. So, how about other devotees? Did you get a chance to read through the purports?
That's what, Prabhu, when you did not come, all of us did in the class.
Yeah, let me just confirm with the
Okay,
individual
sure.
participants, Mataji, just to make sure. Is there anyone who did not get a chance? Hare Krishna. All right. So,
Prabhu, I
good.
read all 13 books last week, Prabhu. This
Okay.
week I did not read this week. I was operated yesterday.
Understand. Yes, Murthy, note. So let's go through text. Whoever devotee is reciting, we can read through text 2 and 3 combined. Rohini Mataji, you had raised your hand. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, you want to recite? You had raised your hand?
I had raised my hand that I'd read, but I'll try
Okay,
reciting,
okay.
no problem.
Okay.
Text 2.
Yes.
Tada te bhratara sarve
Tada te bhratara sarve.
sadashve swarna bhushitahe
Sadashva swarna bhushitaihi.
anvagachan rathair vipra vyasa dhaumyadyayasthatha
Translation.
Translation. At that time, all his brothers followed him on beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyasa and rishis like Dhaumya, the learned priest of the Pandavas, and others.
And text 3 translation also you can read, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji. O sage amongst the Brahmanas, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus, King Yudhishthira appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera surrounded by his companions, the Guhyakas.
Thank you. So here in these two texts, we see the stress or the prominence given to the aristocratic attire of the Pandavas, in which Lord Krishna had them dressed in a very aristocratic manner before taking them to Bhishma. And they were riding chariots driven by first class white color horses, Shat Ashway, drawn by the first class horses, who were decorated with pure gold. So we see Lord Krishna had a very specific purpose in taking the Pandavas to before Bhishma Dev. And what was that purpose? Anyone wants to guess or share? What was the purpose of Lord Krishna in taking the Pandavas in a very aristocratic attire, dressed as the kings before Bhishma Dev?
Prabhuji, Lord wanted that the people who are following dharma should be given more glory. So to show the glories of the Pandava because they followed the dharma, he wanted to show the opulent of his devotees.
Yes, it is correct in part. He wanted to show the opulence of his devotees, specifically for whom? For the
Bhishma Dev.
For Bhishma Dev, to please Bhishma Dev, his pure devotee, especially at the time of his passing.
Yes.
And it will be clear in the subsequent verses how Bhishma Dev was very pleased, because all he had seen from the very beginning of Pandava's life, the suffering of the great Pandavas who were following the path of religiosity and total virtue. And despite they following the path of religiosity, there are several points mentioned by Bhishma Dev, how they were the sons of the Dharma personified, how the Pandavas had the greatest, the most powerful of the warrior in the form of Bhima, how the Pandavas had the best skilled archer, Arjuna, with the Gandiva bow, and none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna himself, was staying as one of their family members. And despite this, how the Pandavas went through one tribulation, one suffering after another throughout their lives. And this all pained the heart of Bhishmadev, who himself was a great devotee, the pure devotee of the Lord. So in order to give solace and pleasure to Bhishmadev, that look, now the Pandavas are all settled and all at peace, and they are the kings, the sovereign kings of the entire earthly planet, led by Maharaj Yudhishthir. So that Bhishmadev could be very pleased at the end of his life and could live peacefully, taking darshan of Lord Krishna and seeing his great grandchildren, the Pandavas, who were all righteous persons and great devotees of the Lord, in a comfortable position. So this aristocratic attire of Pandavas is stressed in the form of Sadashvai Swarna Bhushitai, that even the horses that were driving the chariots of the Pandavas, they were also decorated with pure gold. And the Pandavas themselves, they were dressed in the aristocratic clothes. And we also see that Pandavas were accompanied by the great sages, Brahmarshis like Vyasadev, who all of us know very well, as well as other rishis, great rishis like Dhaumya. So in general, people know who was the teacher of the Pandavas. The name comes to mind, that of Dronacharya. However, Mahabharata, if we see, Dronacharya was the military teacher. Pandavas learned the military art from Dronacharya, but Dhaumya was their spiritual master. And as we will also see in the subsequent verses, Bhagavatam purport, Srila Prabhupada stressing this fact that Dhaumya was the spiritual master. He was the family priest of the Pandavas. So wherever any religious instruction or the advice had to be taken, it was Dhaumya Rishi. Even when Pandavas were living a royal life, even when they were banished to the forest, even at that time, Dhaumya Rishi also accompanied them as the family priest, and Pandavas constantly sought his advice, his instruction on the spiritual subject matters. So this Dhaumya Rishi, don't get bewildered, because we sometimes say that Lord Krishna was guiding them, which is true, as the Supreme Lord. However, Pandavas also had their own family priest, and obviously based on his description, we can understand even Dhaumya Rishi was a great devotee of the Lord. So Pandavas were personally taking guidance from Dhaumya Rishi, who happened to be the family priest and spiritual master. So Lord Krishna, along with Yudhishthir Maharaj, and followed by also Lord Krishna sat on the chariot with Arjuna and followed Yudhishthir Maharaj in front. Thus King Yudhishthir appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera surrounded by his companions. In the last chapter, we had seen Yudhishthir Maharaj being compared to Indra, where Indra performed hundreds of Ashwamedh Yajna. Yudhishthir performed how many Ashwamedh Yajnas? Only 3. Only 3, and still Yudhishthir Maharaj's fame is compared that with Indra or even beyond that. Similarly, here Yudhishthir Maharaj's opulence or his aristocratic appearance is being compared with that of the treasurer of the Devatas, Kuberas, who is always accompanied by his assistants, the Guhyakas. Yudhishthir Maharaj appeared as opulent and aristocratic as Kubera, the treasurer of the demigods. Because Lord Krishna really, he wants to put focus, spotlight, prominence on his devotee, he glorifies them to no extent. We'll go through the purport. Rohini Mataji, want to read through the purport?
Yes, Prabhuji. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna wanted the Pandavas to be present before Bhishma Deva in the most aristocratic order, so that he might be pleased to see them happy at the time of his death. Kuvera is the richest of all the demigods, and herein King Yudhishthira appeared like him. Kuvera for the procession along with Sri Krishna was quite appropriate for the royalty of King Yudhishthira.
Thank you.
The next one also, Prabhuji?
Yes. Just the English.
Yes. Lord Krishna was also a younger...
The translation, seeing him.
Okay, translation. Seeing him, Bhishma, lying on the ground, like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pandava king Yudhishthira, along with his younger brothers and Lord Krishna, bowed down before him.
Purport.
Purport. Lord Krishna was also a younger cousin of Maharaja Yudhishthira as well as the intimate friend of Arjuna. But all the family members of the Pandavas knew Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord, although conscious of his supreme position, always behaved in a humanly custom, and so he also bowed down before the dying Bhishma Deva as if he were one of the younger brothers of King Yudhishthira. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So we see that Lord Krishna playing the part as an ideal human being. He's following all the social customs. In the previous chapter also, we see that when Lord Krishna was about to depart, when Vyasadeva, along with all the great sages, they came to offer their respects to Lord Krishna, who was departing from Hastinapur to Dwarka. Lord Krishna accepted the respect. At the same time, when it was time to offer his respect, he did that as well. He also joined Maharaj Yudhishthir and all other Pandavas when they went to the banks of the holy river to offer their respects for the departed souls, the souls who died in the battle of Kurukshetra. So Lord Krishna is playing the part both as an ideal human being, as one of the family members of the Pandavas, as well as whenever required as the Supreme Lord. So he is balancing both. So here we see that Lord Krishna, along with the Pandavas, he is also bowing down before Bhishma Dev. Even knowing that Bhishma Dev is his pure devotee, he is playing the part as if he is one of the younger brothers of Maharaj Yudhishthir. So who all great personalities who had assembled to offer their respects and honor to Bhishma Dev, we will see in the subsequent verses. I'll just read through some of the portion, then I will request devotees to recite. Just to see the chief of the descendants of King Bharata, Bhishma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the Rishis amongst the demigods, that means the Brahmarshis. The Rishis amongst the demigods, Brahmanas and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. Purport. The Rishis are those who have attained perfection by spiritual achievements. Such spiritual achievements can be earned by all, whether one is a king or a mendicant. Bhishma Dev himself was also one of the brahmacharis, one of the brahmarshis and the chief of the descendants of King Bharata. All the Rishis are situated in the quality of goodness. All of them assembled there on hearing the news of the great warriors impending death. So if we see the last part of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, last few pages, we will see the dynasties coming from sun god as well as from the moon god, and the great prominent personalities who are appearing in both these dynasties, the Chandra Vamsha and the Surya Vamsha, are mentioned, including the dynasty coming from Bharat Maharaj till Bhishma Dev, Pandavas, and so on and so forth. So I don't know about small Bhagavatam. I didn't get a chance to check, but in the big Bhagavatam copy, the 18-volume Bhagavatam, definitely the dynasty is mentioned, and all of you can take a look as well, that how Lord Krishna has arranged these great personalities to appear in these great dynasties just for the welfare of the entire earthly planet. And here all these great Rishis from different backgrounds, including the Brahmarshis, including the Saptarshis, they appeared to honor Bhishma Dev, and their details are mentioned in the subsequent verses. So in the purport, the Srila Prabhupada mentions the details of all these great sages. It won't be possible for us to read the details of all these sages. All of you can go through at your leisure, but we will recite at least the verses, their names, and some of the significant contributions of some of these great sages who are mentioned in the purport. So any devotee wants to recite Hare Krishna? Gita Pradeep Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Parvato Narado Dhaumya
Parvato Narado
Bhagavan Badarayana
Bhagavan Badarayana
Prahadashvo Bharadvajaha
Brahadashvo Bharadvajaha
Yo Renuka Sutaha
Shashishno
Renuka
Renuka
Sutaha
Sutaha
Vashishta Indra Pramadas
Vasishta Indra
Indra
Pramadas
Trito Grishtamadositaha
Tritongra
Samadositaha
Kakshivan Gautamo Trisha
Kakshivan Gautamo Trisha
Kotha Sada Shanaha
Kaushikota Sudarshanaha
sorry Sudarshanaha.
Sudarshanaha. Yes, translation. Mataji.
Translation. All the sages like Parvata Muni, Narada, Dhaumya, Vyasa, the incarnation of God, Brahadashva, Bharadwaja, and Parashurama, and disciples, Vashishta, Indra, Pramada, Trita, Grasmada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushika, and Sudarshana were present.
Thank you, Mataji. So, some of these personalities are so great, Prabhuji's Mataji, that Prabhupada mentions in the purport that personalities like Vasishtha and who else? Yeah, I think it's Vasishtha Muni and at least two other personalities I noted when I was going through the purport. Even Parshuram, who is one of the incarnations of the Lord, these personalities were present. They have seen in person Lord Krishna's appearance, Lord Ramachandra's appearance, and even some of these were witness to Narsingadev's appearance. That means these personalities, they are like ever present, or they are present for a very, very long period of time by the mercy and grace of Lord Krishna for a very specific purpose. So let's see some of these great personalities who are mentioned. First is Parvata Muni. And Prabhupada mentions about Parvata Muni that he is a great friend and constant companion of Narada Muni. He is also similar to Narada Muni. He is one of the Brahmarshis, one of the Devata saints. Now, don't get confused by the Devata saints amongst the demigods. That just means that these are perfected beings. They may be traveling to heaven, but that doesn't make them a resident of the heavenly planets. They are residents of the spiritual world who are appointed by the Lord for a very specific purpose, for a very specific service in this material world. So don't get confused by this word. Wherever we see Narada is the saint amongst the demigods. That doesn't mean Narada Muni is a demigod. He has the qualification, he has the facilities that are offered to the devatas like Gandharvas and so on, where he can travel just based on his mind without any material arrangement. That is what the purport is. We will see some of these details, but don't get confused. Okay, so Parvata Muni. Parvata Muni is considered to be one of the oldest sages. He is almost always a constant companion of Narada Muni. Do we remember any pastime, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, where Parvata Muni has accompanied Narada Muni in visiting any specific devotee? Do we recollect? Who did Parvata Muni join?
Brigadi.
Yes. Parvata Muni joined Narada Muni to visit Mrugari after Narada Muni had given his mercy to this hunter devotee. After Mrugari's transformation, to see how his Narada Muni's devotee doing. So that time Parvata Muni was also his companion. So here Bhagavatam is saying that Parvata Muni is almost always a constant companion of Narada Muni. They are also spacemen competent to travel in the air without the help of material vehicle. So these great personalities have been blessed by the Lord with capabilities which are normally available to the devatas, who don't need any material arrangement for traveling. Just by their will, they can travel to any part of the cosmic manifestation. Parvata Muni is also a Devarshi or a great sage amongst the Devatas, the demigods, like Narada. He was present along with Narada at the sacrificial ceremony of Maharaj Janamejaya. Now, some of these questions we will discuss in the end, how to reconcile some of these details. What is the current occasion? Bhishmadev's passing away. And after Bhishmadev's passing away, Pandavas led by Maharaj Yudhishthir will rule the kingdom for a significant period of time, say around 36 years. And then subsequently, Krishna would conclude his pastimes, the earthly pastimes. He will depart. The Pandavas will also enthrone Parikshit as their successor. They will start walking to the north. Then subsequently, Parikshit Maharaj will rule. Parikshit Maharaj will be cursed by Shungi, the son of Shamika Rishi. And subsequently, the Bhagavatam will be mentioned, where again, some of these personalities will be seen. So, normal material intelligence, we would have difficulty reconciling how are some of these personalities mentioned here are also present when Bhagavatam was spoken, and some of these personalities' age is also mentioned when Bhagavatam was spoken. So how to reconcile these two, we will discuss in the end. So just remind me if I forget. So this Parvata Muni, he was also present after, in the events after the Bhagavatam was spoken. That means after Takshaka came, after Parikshit Maharaj, basically he had left his body even before Takshaka burnt his material body. Parikshit Maharaj had attained Samadhi and went back home, back to Godhead. So after that, the son of Parikshit Maharaj, Maharaj Janamejaya, he was very upset and angry with the snakes, and he conducted a big sacrifice in which the snakes from all over the world were being killed. And subsequently, Lord Brahma comes and instructs, basically asks Janamejaya to stop the sacrifice, that whatever punishment he is meting out to the entire snake race, it is excess, it should not be done. Please pardon the remaining of the snakes. Whatever punishment you have given till now, that is sufficient. So in that snake sacrifice, also we see Parvata Muni was present. Also, these Devarshis like Parvata Muni and Narada Muni, they are being referred to as Gandharvas, not because they are the Gandharvas, because they are endowed with the beautiful ability like Gandharvas, where they can sing very beautifully the glorification, the glories of the Lord. That's why they are being referred to as the Gandharvas. But don't mistake them either for the Devatas or the Gandharvas, the residents of the higher planetary system. Just that they possess those abilities by the grace of the Lord. But these personalities, Devarshis, are even higher than the Devatas in terms of their spiritual stature. And since they can travel in the air, they means Parvata Muni and Narada Muni. They also observed Draupadi Swayamvara ceremony. And subsequently, it is also mentioned in the highlighted text that I have put in yellow. Both Narada and Parvata were once in trouble with the daughter of Maharaj Srunjaya. Maharaj Srunjaya got the benediction of a son by Parvata Muni. So here comes the story. I just searched on this a bit. Maharaj Srunjaya was a great king, but he was a bit greedy, and he desired, basically he had a daughter, a very beautiful daughter, and it is explained that at some point, both these great Devarshis, they were attracted to her, and Narada Muni basically asked for the hand of the daughter, and subsequently Parvata Muni got upset, and there was some trouble between the two, but subsequently it all got aligned and they continued in their devotional service to Lord Krishna. So again, we should not judge these great personalities. All these great events, they are orchestrated by the Lord just for all of us to learn our lesson. So what happens is, this great king Srunjaya, he happened to be very greedy, and he wanted a child who would be cause of great opulence. So he desired a child like that. And here it is mentioned, Parvata Muni granted him that benediction. But when Srunjaya was visited too by Parvata Muni, both these Devarshis, they visited Srunjaya, Narada Muni and the Parvata Muni. So some places you will find a reference that Narada Muni blessed Srunjaya with the child. Some places we will find the reference that Parvata Muni blessed. But there is no contradiction. It is all just the commentary or the observer how the observers have mentioned their commentaries. So this Srunjaya got a son such that whenever the child used to smile or laugh, the pearls would fall off from his mouth. Or wherever the child was best, like the palace of the king, everything used to turn into gold. So much opulence the king was getting, Srunjaya, and he became very happy. He got both the son as well as the material opulence. And somehow this news reached a gang of dacoits in the forest that this particular king has got a son who basically gives unlimited amount of opulence in the form of pearls, jewels, gold, etc. And this gang of dacoits, they basically abducted the son. And while the king, Srunjaya, did try to rescue the son through his own soldiers, the son was basically mercilessly killed by the dacoits because of their own greed, where they wanted to gain the jewels and the gold. They thought that each and every drop of blood of this child, pearls will come out. And like the hen which lays golden eggs, when the hen was cut, nothing was obtained. So similarly, the dacoits also met with nothing when they cut and basically killed the child. And Srunjaya was very, very morose and despondent, losing his child because of his greed. Had he not desired a child which will give him so much opulence, then the child would have been a normal child and there have been no harm to his life. But because Srunjaya's own greed, the child was born in that particular way, and the child also lost his life, and Srunjaya also was bereft. He became bereft of the child, and he became morose and despondent. And subsequently, these great personalities like Devarshi Narada and Parvata Rishi, they guided, instructed the king. So next few parts we will read. Narada Muni is inevitably associated with the narrations of the Puranas. He is described in the Bhagavatam. In his previous life, he was the son of a maidservant. But by the good association with pure devotees, he became enlightened in devotional service. So this we have already studied in great detail. He is the principal Devarshi, the chief amongst the chief sage amongst the Devatas, demigods. Son of Brahmaji, he is the Manasa Putra of Brahma. And also significance of Narada Muni is mentioned, how the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam was given first by Lord Krishna to Lord Brahma, and from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasadev, and from Vyasadev to Madhvacharya. From Madhvacharya we have from Srila Madhavendra Puri, the Guru disciplic succession, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So the knowledge is coming directly from Narada Muni in this Guru Shishya Parampara, in this disciplic succession. So that is also his great contribution. Yeah, for Dhaumya, we discussed that how he was the family priest of the Pandavas, and he was constantly present with the Pandavas through all thick and thin. He was also present when the Swayamvar of Draupadi happened, basically when betrothal, this word I am reading for the first time, I searched it, it means engagement. So Srila Prabhupada has used this word. Betrothal of Draupadi, he was present. During the exile of the Pandavas, he was present, and he was a constant spiritual instructor, the spiritual master of the Pandavas. Here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, he means Dhaumya. He was actually the right type of priest, of a householder, for he could guide the Pandavas on the right path of religion. A priest is meant for guiding the householder progressively in the right path of ashrama dharma, or the occupational duty of a particular caste. There is practically no difference between the family priest and the spiritual master. The sages, saints, and the brahmanas were especially meant for such functions. And we see this Varnashram Dharma being followed in an ideal manner in the Vedic culture, where the Kshatriyas, they were always being guided by the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas held their dignity in terms of not accepting too much of opulence from the Kshatriyas. So their opinion always carried weight. they did not become like a hired assistants of the Kshatriyas. They kept their dignity. And the Kshatriyas, they also always maintained their subservience to the Brahmanas. We see any examples we can think of, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? We see in the case of Maharaj Vena. Of course, Maharaj Vena was not a religious personality, but Brahmanas, when they saw that Vena was not following the religious principles of being a king properly, they dethroned Vena, had him killed, and got Maharaj Prithu born from churning of the body of Vena and enthroned Maharaj Prithu and guided Maharaj Prithu in properly ruling the kingdom. Any other example we can think of? Pandavas we are seeing. Any other example of Kshatriyas being guided by the qualified Brahmanas? Samrat Ashoka. Samrat Ashoka, who was he guided by? Was it Ashoka or no? Sorry, Chandragupta Maurya. Sorry, no. Chandragupta. Yeah,
Yes.
Chandragupta Maurya
Chanakya.
being guided by Chanakya. And we have these famous stories that how Chanakya, one time he was visited by a visitor and he reduced the flame of the lamp, what he was using, because he said that I can afford only this small flame. But when I was doing the work for the king, I was using the full flame. So these Brahmanas, they also maintained their honesty, simple lifestyle and dignity.
Maharaj Dashrath was guided by
Vasishtha. Yes, Mataji, very nice. Maharaj Dashrath was guided by Vasishtha, and these family priests saved their host from the great dangers. Like when Maharaj Dashrath was reluctant to agree with the will of what was the name? Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra, Vasishtha cautioned him. He said, I already have a good experience dealing with Vishwamitra. You please don't get into trouble by taking back your words. You will be in deep trouble. Better give Lord Rama and Lakshman to Vishwamitra. And Vasishtha basically reassured Dasharath Maharaj that Vishwamitra himself is capable of defeating all these demons who are troubling the sages in the forest. He is only taking them for a higher purpose. So don't think that your young children will be in trouble. Vishwamitra is fully capable of protecting himself and the children also. So don't worry about that. But don't get into crosshair of Vishwamitra by taking back your words. So these type of guidances, instructions were constantly received by such great kings, Kshatriya kings. Then Vyasadev, we are well aware, we studied about Vyasadev's background in chapter 5 of Bhagavatam. So Vyasadev, we are aware. Then it is also explained how this Vyasadev, the great celebrated author of the Vedic scriptures, he desired assistance of a powerful writer in composing the Vedic literature, including Mahabharata and also Srimad Bhagavatam. And subsequently, Lord Brahma assigned Ganeshji in assisting Vyasadeva, where Vyasadeva was dictating and Ganeshji was writing. So those of us, whenever we want to explain the true glories of Lord Ganesh to the people, these are the true glories of Lord Ganesh that are mentioned in Bhagavatam. That Lord Ganesh has personally written Bhagavatam, has personally written other Vedic literatures, including Mahabharata, to assist Vyasadeva, where Vyasadeva wanted a competent writer. Vyasadeva dictated these scriptures and Lord Ganesh personally wrote. And there was a condition put by Ganeshji, it is mentioned here as well, that dictation has to be non-stop, and Ganeshji will write only after he has assimilated, he has digested whatever Vyasadeva mentioned. So this is also mentioned as one of the explanation by the devotees. The 3rd chapter verse, Ete chamsha kala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Lord Ganesh would not have written this verse unless he has fully assimilated and digested. That means Lord Ganesh also understands Lord Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if somebody wants to please Lord Ganesh, then we can respect, we can honor Lord Ganesh in terms of his devotional stature, which is being the great devotee of the Lord, and for the contribution that Ganeshji has had in writing these great Vedic literatures. So that is the true proper glorification. The glorification is not like Dhanam Dehi, Vidyam Dehi, so on and so forth, asking for material boons. Great. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai, what is the greatest fame? What is the greatest fame? Ramananda Rai answered, the greatest fame is to be known as the sincere servant and devotee of Lord Krishna. That is the greatest fame. So Lord Ganeshji will be much, much more pleased if we honor him as the great devotee of the Lord than if we approach him just for materialistic asks. And we have discussed this earlier, how in one of our farm communities, Govardhan Eco Village, within ISKCON, there is a very nice red stone temple built for Ganeshji. The deity of Ganeshji was in a very dilapidated and very neglected state in that village when devotees were established in this community. And the devotees were basically guided by the leader of their community to bring the deity of Ganeshji within the GEV devotee community, and subsequently Lord Ganesh was built a magnificent temple within the same temple complex within the same community. And every day the Mahaprasad of Shri Radha Vrindavan Bihari in Govardhan Eco Village is first offered to Ganeshji, basically not first, but it goes to Ganeshji for being offered to him. Similarly, we see in Jagannath Puri, another great devotee of the Lord, Vimala Devi, the wife of Lord Shiva, Mother Parvati. She is also offered the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath. So it is not that devotees are disrespectful towards these devata. We honor them in their proper glory. We don't honor them for material benefits. That is the difference.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, one question. Actually, I have heard Lord Ganesha write Mahabharata until now, but haven't heard about Srimad Bhagavatam. So
that
is there,
also I have heard. So here in this purport I couldn't find, but in the lecture I have heard this message that that even Bhagavatam was dictated by Vyasadeva but written in person by Ganeshji. Okay. So don't get confused. Vyasadeva is still the author. He is presenting, but in terms of the physical act of writing, Ganeshji has written. Then subsequently we hear about Mother Satyavati, how she was not just the stepmother of Bhishma, the second wife of Maharaj Shantanu, she also was mother of great sage Vyasadeva before she married Maharaj Shantanu. So Vyasadeva was conceived by Parashar Muni in the womb of Mother Satyavati. So all these details you can go through slowly so that you don't miss out. Then Brahadvasha, this you can go through. Bharadwaja Muni, this is important. Bharadwaja, the powerful Rishi, sometimes undertook severe penances on the shore of Ganges, and his ashram is still celebrated at Prayag Dham. It is learned that this Rishi, while taking bath in the Ganges, happened to meet Ghratachi, one of the beautiful society girls of heaven, and thus he discharged semen, and from that subsequently Dronacharya came out. So Dronacharya is mentioned as the son of Bharadwaja. And these Saptarshis, if you Google or if you check on the Wikipedia, the Saptarshis, they are not always the same. In specific Manvantar, we have a specific set of Saptarshis, but many of them, they are constant in each of the Saptarshis group, like Vasishtha Rishi, Jamadagni, and Vishwamitra Rishi. They are all there in many of the sets of Saptarshis, but not all 7 are same all through. Okay, this you can check through at your leisure.
Can you repeat what you said about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai? The greatest fame is?
The greatest fame is being known as the servant and devotee of Lord Krishna. So this I mentioned in relation to Maharaj Yudhishthir, his opulence being compared to that of Kuvera, or in earlier chapter, his opulence being compared to Indra. because although Kuvera and Indra, materially speaking, they are much more opulent than Yudhishthir, Yudhishthir is being glorified more because of his devotional stature.
So why do you call that as the greatest pain, Prabhu? It's pride to be a servant of...
No, not pain. I said greatest fame. F-A-M-E.
Oh, sorry, Prabhu. I didn't hear.
Yeah,
Sorry.
greatest fame. Greatest pain that Ramananda was asked, he said that I don't know any other misery or suffering apart from not having the association of the devotees. That was also a question, but that was answered separately. Okay. So later on, now we come to Parshuram. Parshuram is the son of Jamadagni and Renuka Devi. So we know the background of Parshuram. So this all details you can go through. Yeah. Apart from Vyasadev, apart from Vasishta, we also see that Parshuram was also present when Lord Ramachandra was present, as well as when Lord Krishna was present. We also see what was that great monkey devotee who, sorry, not monkey devotee, yeah, Hanumanji. Actually, we see Hanumanji was also present during the time of Lord Ramachandra, as well as Lord Krishna. He's even present now as well. So there are many great personalities who have been on this earthly planet through all the different incarnations of the Lord. Yeah, and we see about Parshuram how after Vichitra Virya and Chitrangada, basically both the children of Satyavati, they passed away prematurely, and Bhishma was requested by Satyavati to accept the throne and continue the lineage, the royal lineage. And Bhishma stuck to his vow of brahmacharya. We see that he was requested by none other than Parshuram, but he refused. And although Parshuram, in one particular way, he happens to be the spiritual master of Bhishma Dev. Let me read that part. When Bhishma refused to marry Amba, who wanted him to become her husband, Amba met Parshuram, and by her request only, he means Parshuram. Parshuram asked Bhishmadev to accept her as his wife. Bhishma refused to obey his order, although he was one of the spiritual masters of Bhishmadev. So it is explained that one is required to follow each and every instruction of the spiritual master, except for one order where one is not obliged, even if one disobeys. Of course, that disobeying cannot be in rebellious attitude. That disobeying has to be with the mood of continuing to serve Krishna in a particular way. So we see Parshuram is the spiritual master of Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev has neglected this instruction of his spiritual master to get married. So only one instruction of the spiritual master, which one is allowed to not obey, is to get married. Any other occasion we can think of, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, of spiritual master?
Four Kumaras.
Four Kumaras, very nice. Four Kumara. Sorry, come again, Mataji. Bali Maharaj. Yeah. Bali Maharaj, yes. So four Kumaras, they are the Manasa Putra of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma asked them to get married, become progenitors to help assist his mission. But the four Kumaras, they were afraid. They did not want to be influenced by the material energy of the Lord, and they wanted to continue to render devotional service to the Lord without being affected by material energy. So they requested to remain in the form of young boys and refused to follow the instruction. And Lord Brahma got upset and angry, and from Lord Brahma's anger, who manifested?
Rudra Prabhuji.
Rudra, yes, Lord Shiva. So this particular instruction of getting married is something which we see some occasions, some incidences in the scriptures where the disciple has not followed, but they were still let go of. So here also we see that Parshuram, he became upset and he fought with Bhishma. But Bhishma was such a great warrior that he even fought with great valor with Parshuram and ultimately pleased Parshuram by his fighting ability and the valor. And subsequently, Parshuram blessed Bhishma with which astra? At last, Parshuram was pleased with Bhishma and gave him the benediction of becoming the greatest fighter in the world. So he was subsequently granted this benediction. Vasishtha, we discussed that he was present both during the lifetime of Lord Ramachandra and Lord Krishna. Rest of the sages you can go through. Asita, this particular sage's name also is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Where is it mentioned? Prabhuji's Mataji's?
11, Prabhu.
in
Chapter 15 sloka, no? Asita Devi Vyasa Swayamdeva Bhavishime. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So after, is it 11th or 10th? Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, yeah.
The sloka is 12th.
And, yeah, after the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, basically. After Lord Krishna establishes his position to Arjuna, Arjuna gives the reference credentials of great sages like Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime, that these great sages, not just me, it should not be considered that because I am your great friend, I am doing this flattery for you. I am calling you the Supreme Lord. Even the great personalities like Asita Devala Vyasa, they also have established, agreed with this opinion that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this Asita Rishi is mentioned. He was
Prabhu,
also, yeah.
Ashita, sorry, Prabhu, the previous one. Yeah. So that shloka says Ashita Devala Vyasa. So I was thinking it's Ashita Muni is different. Devala is Narada, right? And Vyasa. But here it says the Ashita is another name also. It sounds as Asita Devala.
Actually,
so which one?
Devala Rishi is a separate one. That's what I had raised.
Different.
Yeah, different in Srila Prabhupada's purport. But here Asita Devala Rishi is great. Yeah.
Is like same person's name as expansion. That is where I got confused. The second line of what you highlight.
Yeah. So actually what I remember reading in Srila Prabhupada's purport, that these are the separate personalities, Mataji. Asita, Devala, Vyasa, etc.
Yeah, separate person.
Yes. Yes, Mataji. Okay. So he was also present when King Janamejaya, the son of Maharaj Parikshit, conducted the snake sacrifice to avenge the death of his father. So Kashivan and all you can go through. One specific sage Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, I'm looking for his name. Atri is one of the Saptarshis. In the current Manvantara, you can refer to Wikipedia for different Saptarshis in different Manvantaras. Yes, this is important point. In describing Sudarshana, as we know that it is the transcendental eternal weapon of choice of Lord Krishna, it is explained that this Sudarshana was gifted to Lord Krishna by Agnidev. But Prabhupada explains that that doesn't mean that Sudarshana was gifted and previously it was not with Lord Krishna. He said just like Rukmini, who is the eternal consort of Lord Krishna, was gifted to Lord Krishna ultimately by Rukmi, by Maharaj Rukma, by the father of Rukmini, but she happens to be the eternal consort of the Lord. Similarly, Agnidev gifting the weapon Sudarshana to Lord Krishna, it does not change the fact that Sudarshana is eternally the weapon of Lord Krishna. So don't get confused. The Lord accepts such presentations from his devotees, even though such presentations are eternally his property. So they are always eternally existing with the Lord in the spiritual world. But as a pastime, as an incident, the devotees, not devotees, sometimes devatas or sometimes even demoniac persons like Rukma. Rukma was not demoniac. Rukmini's brother, Rukmi, was demoniac. So we proceed. In the next verse, we won't recite this verse. There were other great personalities. So here is the point I want to reconcile. Any devotee wants to read through this translation, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Ishwari Murari Priya Mataji Jagadananda.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. Words to read or translation?
Translation.
Translation. And many others like Shukdev Goswami and other purified souls, Kashyapa and Angirasa and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. So first great sage in this verse is mentioned who was present at the passing away of Bhishmadev is Shukadev Goswami. And Shukadev Goswami, as we know, after passing away, we discussed Yudhishthir Maharaj is enthroned, Pandavas ruled for 36 years. Krishna leaves earthly planet, concludes the earthly pastimes. Pandavas leave. Parikshit Maharaj is established as the king. He rules for a significant time. He is cursed. And then Shukadev Goswami appears at the scene. And at that time, we have read that Shukadev Goswami appeared as the 16-year-old boy. That he was a young boy, but still he was respected by all the great personalities who were assembled there, including Vyasadev, Lord Shiva, Narada Muni, and all other great sages, and was chosen for the raised seat to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. So how do we reconcile that Shukadev Goswami is here as well when Bhishma is passing away, and he is appearing at the scene of Maharaj Parikshit's departure as a 16-year-old. So the point is, we cannot reconcile using our material intelligence. We can probably try and understand that probably he appears like a 16-year-old, just like the 4 Kumaras, they always appear as the 4-5-year-old children, not more than that. That can be one understanding, or other understanding is basically accept based on the commentary of the previous acharyas, but without trying to calculate it from our own tiny intelligence. Okay, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. So either of these explanations we can understand that these great personalities, it is quite possible that by Lord Krishna's grace, they want to remain at that stage of their life and they don't want to grow further. So for Shukadev Goswami, it is mentioned, he thoroughly studied all the Vedic literatures from his great father. This verse we have seen in chapter number 2, when the sages of the Naimisharanya asked, not chapter 2, chapter 3 and 4, that why did Shukadev Goswami took the pain of learning this vast literature from his father, although he himself was a liberated soul from the very beginning of his life, from the very birth. And we saw this great verse, the Atmaram verse, Atmaramascha Munayo Nirgrantha Api Urukrame, that even the Atmaramas, even the completely self-satisfied and liberated personalities like Shukadev Goswami, they take pleasure in learning about and in discussing about Lord Krishna. So that's why he took the pain of learning this vast literature from his father. So this we have seen before, we won't dwell much. Kashyapa, Angirasa, all of you can go through at your leisure. He is the son of Maharshi Angira. Angira Muni is also one of the contemporary and friend of Narada Muni. Who did Narada Muni visit along with Angira Rishi?
Chitraketu Maharaj.
Chitraketu Maharaj, yes, very nice. All right. So I know I have skipped quite a few details on the sages, but it would take otherwise very long. So all of you can go through at your leisure. And if there are any questions, comments, we can discuss next time. Now let's proceed first. Took quite some time. So this is the most important verse of today's section, where Bhishmadev is actually offering a very grand reception to all these great personalities who have appeared there, despite being completely in a very difficult position where each and every single inch of his body is being pierced by the arrows. So lying on the deathbed, how did Bhishmadev receive all these great personalities? He is explained in Bhagavatam. Shama Gopika Mataji, and subsequently I will also request Dhanya Dameshwari Mataji for the next verse. Shama Gopika Mataji.
Tan sametan mahabhagan upalabhya vasutamaha उपलभ्य वसुत्तमः पूज्यामास धर्मज्ञो देशकाल विभागवे
So we'll see some of the words before we go to the translation. Tan Sametan Mahabhagan, when all these great personalities, including the Rajarshis, the Devarshis, the Brahmarshis, and it is explained in Prabhupada's purport. Was it in the past or it will come? Prabhupada mentioned that all of these great sages who appeared near Bhishmadev at the time of his passing away, many of them, they were like Trikalagya's, they were existing in different incarnations of the Lord, and all of them were in the mode of goodness or pure goodness. So none of them were ordinary personalities. So this verse explains that when all such great exalted guests came there to offer their honor and respects to Bhishmadev at the time of his passing, how did Bhishmadev receive them? Upalabhya Vasuttama. Vasuttama means Uttama means the best of the Vasus. So we see that 8 Vasus, they are also in a way like the Devatas, the sons of Aditi and Kashyapa. And out of those 8 Vasus, Bhishma also happens to be one. And more than being a Vasu, one of the Devatas, he is the pure devotee of the Lord. He is the Mahajana in Bhakti cult. So yes, Shama Gopika Mataji, how he welcomed all these Mahabhagan based on Desha, Kala, Vibhagavit, based on time, place and circumstances. How did he receive them? Translation.
Bhishmadeva, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place.
Thank you. So maybe we'll read through some part of the purport and then we go through more detail. Purport.
Highlighted ones, Prabhu.
You can read everything, Mataji. It's
Okay.
very important.
Expert religionists know perfectly well how to adjust the religious principles in terms of time and place. All the great acharyas or religious preachers or reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of the religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world, and if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of the Lord, he must be expert in adjusting things in terms of the time and place. Bhishma Deva was one of the 12 great authorities in preaching this cult of devotional service, and therefore he could receive and welcome all the powerful sages assembled there at his deathbed from all parts of the universe. He was certainly unable at that time to welcome and receive them physically because he was neither at his home nor in a normal healthy condition. But he was quite fit by the activities of his sound mind, and therefore he could utter sweet words with hearty expressions, and all of them were well received. One can perform one's duty by physical work, by mind, and by words, and he knew well how to utilize them in the proper place, and therefore there was no difficulty for him to receive them, although physically unfit.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
We see, Hare Krishna, we see that Bhishmadev, although being in a helpless condition, physically speaking, he still received all these great sages. And Prabhupada explains in the purport how the great acharyas, the religious preachers or reformers, they know perfectly well how to apply the religious principles where the details can differ based on time, place, and circumstances for the purpose of preaching this cult of devotional service in different time, place, and circumstances. For example, we have many examples, and we would request devotees also to think and come up with such examples. Say, for example, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We see that apart from the governor of Bengal, it is mentioned that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was the only other person who had a very luxurious car at his time. And he used to go wherever required in proper coat and proper formal attire in order to preach Krishna consciousness. He also encouraged his disciples, the sannyasi disciples, to go as a perfect gentleman for the purpose of preaching. Not just that, one more incident, I'm just in double mind whether to mention it or not, but please don't judge. Okay, Prabhuji, just understand it from the point of view of how the great personalities know what needs to be done in a given time, place, and circumstances. If we judge them rather than advancing in spiritual life, we will degrade ourselves. And if we try to imitate them, then also we will degrade ourselves. So just understand it as that Lord Krishna's perfect intelligence that is granted to them, because of which they could make such bold choices. So there was once inauguration, I don't know whether it was of a Gaudiya Mutt or some significant institution, which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had organized at the hands of a very highly placed British official during the British India rule. And this official had to be invited to Navadip, Mayapur, or that particular place where this institution had to be, basically the opening ceremony was to be held. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur arranged for hotel accommodation. Of course, he could not keep the British official in the matha, in the austere situation. Otherwise, these people won't be comfortable. And in the hotel, the British official was also arranged the food which they normally consume, which would obviously be, you can understand, being mlecha, what would they eat? But what point I want to stress is, for the propagation of the Krishna consciousness mission, these acharyas knew perfectly well, not only know even now perfectly well what needs to be done. If we judge such a great personality that how can he arrange the food which is not according to the Vedic customs for this personality, we would commit a great offense. Why? Because we don't have that bird's eye view. We don't have the spiritual intelligence that Krishna has granted to such great personalities. What needs to be done to preach Krishna consciousness? Similarly, we hear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when his disciples, they were quite apprehensive about going to West. They said, Maharaj, what we would eat, we won't get prasadam and all, how we would sustain ourselves. And what was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's reply? Of course, we cannot take it literally now. We have many options by Krishna's grace, by Srila Prabhupada's grace, to sustain our Krishna consciousness. But at that time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, considering the urgency of the situation, he mentioned, eat meat but preach. Go there. Don't tell me that you won't get prasadam or vegetarian food. So the point is, these great personalities, Bhagavatam mentions, they know how to apply religious principles in terms of time, place, and circumstances. Any other example can we think of, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. Yeah, Prabhuji, when Srila Prabhupada was staying at Sally Agarwal's place,
Yes.
so the fridge had like meat also, it was kept, and then Prabhupada used to keep his the
Okay.
whatever prasadam he prepared in that like above shelf only, and he still adjusted for the sake of all the conditioned souls in the world.
Yes,
And
yes, Mataji.
yeah, and also Prabhu, like the number of rounds for chanting. So Prabhupada also adjusted that, because initially, like Goswamis and all would chant like every day 64 rounds, right? So, and then devotees said that in this yuga, it is not possible for all the devotees to chant so many rounds. So,
Yes.
yes. So,
Yes, so what to speak of Goswamis, even up to the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the resident monks, the brahmacharis in the ashram, they were required to chant 64 rounds. But Prabhupada, seeing the inability of all of us and the limitations, he mercifully first brought it down to 32 and then said minimum 16, nothing less. But the point is we should not ourselves try to discount it any further. These are great personalities who have that empowerment directly coming from Lord Krishna to adjust the details based on time, place, and circumstances. Thank you, Mataji. Any other example we can think of? Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Sorry, Aishwarya Subhadra Mataji, I just saw this 10:13 here. This is for the Param Brahma, Param Dham verse. Any other example we can think of a greatly empowered personality adjusting the details while still keeping the principle intact, knowing the essence? Can I request Prabhuji's, Mataji's to keep your cameras on if you are comfortable? See, spiritual world is a personal space. Imagine Krishna wants to give us darshan, but only with camera off. We won't like it, right? So if you are comfortable, or maybe if you are not comfortable today, maybe next time, it feels more personal if you can. Hare Krishna. Any devotee wants to volunteer to think of any other example of an empowered personality adjusting the details based on time, place, and circumstances? For Srila Prabhupada itself, we have several revolutionary decisions that Srila Prabhupada took, including giving Brahman initiation to the Matajis, which was earlier on not there. Or what else? I have written few. Let me go back to the slides. 1 second.
Sannyasi conducting marriages.
Yes. Srila Prabhupada himself being a sannyasi conducting the marriages, because if Prabhupada had not conducted, then the devotees would have simply stayed together or not know what is the ideal grahastha ashram. So let me go back to the slide. Yes. So some examples, like for Dhruva Maharaj, Narad Muni's example is given that where did Narad Muni instruct Dhruva Maharaj? What was the place? It was a forest. If you don't remember the name, that is fine. I think it was Madhuvan.
Madhuvan.
Yes, one of the 12 forests in Vrindavan. So it was a forest. So in the forest, to worship Lord Krishna, obviously Dhruva Maharaj will not have the Achman Patra and the cup and all the paraphernalia. So Narada Muni instructed Dhruva Maharaj based on the time, place, circumstances that you create a deity of the Lord using the mud and then meditate on the Lord in this particular manner by following these particular steps, which were difficult but possible for Dhruva Maharaj because of his determination. And ultimately, following those steps, Dhruva Maharaj attained the darshan of Lord Vishnu in how long? In very short period of time. How long a period?
6 months.
6 months, very short period of time. Right? And similarly, we also see Vasudev. Of course, it was not exactly discounting the religious principle, but following the religious principle based on time, place, and circumstances. We see that after Lord Krishna was born, Vasudev wanted to give charity, which is the normal custom for the Kshatriya kings. And because both Vasudev and Devaki themselves were in the prison house of Kamsa, Vasudev offered charity in his mind. And Prabhupada also mentions in the purport, what is that line? One can perform one's duty by physical work, by mind, and by words. So we see the examples of physical work are quite a few. How devotees received the great sages, how Lord Krishna received Sudama, and so on and so forth. This is by physical work. By mind is Vasudev giving charity to the Brahmanas in mind after Lord Krishna's birth to celebrate Lord Krishna's appearance. And by words is what we see in the case of Bhishmadev, where because he is physically unfit to receive these great personalities who have assembled there at the time of his departure, he received them with sweet words. Where is that statement? Yes.
Fourth.
Yeah. He was certainly unable at that time to welcome and receive them physically, because he was neither at his home nor in a normal healthy condition, but he was quite fit by the activities of his sound mind. So although Bhishma's each and every inch of his body was pierced by arrows, by the special benediction and because of his devotional advancement, he could maintain a very sound mind even in that painful situation. And therefore, he could utter sweet words with hearty expressions, and all of them were well received. And this is also mentioned as a basic etiquette we should follow whenever we are receiving any guest. Even if we can't give a very grand welcome to any Atiti visiting our home, bare minimum we should do is offer them a very nice clean place to sit, offer them glass of water, and also welcome them with sweet words. So this is a very important etiquette for all the devotees. Not only this, it is also explained, there are in subsequent canto 5, we will study about 27 different hells for people who commit various wrong deeds. And one of the hell I remember is for people who get, even in their mind, who become angry at the arrival of the uninvited guest, at the arrival of Atiti at their home, and look at them angrily that why this person has come to my home. It is explained that for such persons who give an angry stare to the Atiti, there are special birds in the hellish planet who pluck out the eyes of such persons. And this is mentioned as one of the 27 different hells. So not to scare all of us, but this is a basic devotee etiquette. We all should know how we should consider a Atiti as a representative of the Lord, that Lord has sent him, and I should try my level best to give the best possible hospitality and reception to such person. That scripture mentioned, even if our enemy visits, he should forget the enmity. We should receive that well. And we see even the most demoniac of the persons like Duryodhana, even Duryodhana, Jarasandha, they also had that hospitality. When Arjuna visited Duryodhana during the battle in the evening, Duryodhana welcomed him in his camp. And he said, do you want the kingdom? And Arjuna, if would have asked, Duryodhana would have definitely given. We have that confidence. They knew that religious principles. Jarasandha, after he recognized Bhimasen, Arjuna and Krishna, still he received them gracefully and gave them a very nice hospitality to stay, to arrange their lodging, boarding, everything. He did not basically try any unfair means to harm them. So if the Asuric persons can follow this etiquette, we as a devotee should definitely understand and follow. And Bhishma Dev is showing through his own example how the principles can be maintained even in the most awkward and difficult situation, even when the outside circumstances are not favorable. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments, Prabhuji's, Mataji's on this? Hare Krishna. Noted, Divya Rukmani Mataji. All right. So let's proceed. We'll cover few more verses today. Who were the other devotees? Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji, you had raised your hand. You want to read? Vandita Mataji, you can read the next one. Or if Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji does not unmute, then you can unmute. The Vandita Mataji, you can read through your comfortable. Just read the translation.
Yes, Prabhuji. 10th one, Prabhuji.
Yes. Lord Shri Krishna.
Lord Sri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, and he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhishma Deva, and since Bhishma Deva knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly.
Purport.
And the Lord's
Omnipotency.
omnipotency is displayed by his simultaneous presence in every place. He is present always in his eternal abode, Goloka Vrindavana, and still he is present in everyone's heart and even within every invisible atom. When he manifests his eternal transcendental form in the material world, he does so. Prabhuji, please move the screen.
I can't. If I move, then it will go to the next. Anyway, I will read Mataji, not an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
When
does so by his internal potency. The
Thank you.
external potency or the
Thank you, Mataji. So here, Lord Krishna, who is present as Paramatma in everyone's heart, he is also present before Bhishmadev, and Bhishmadev is glorifying, basically he is worshipping the Lord just by taking his darshan. Hare Krishna, 1 second. So now we will go back to the slide. Now the Pandavas, they are overwhelmed with grief, seeing their dear great-grandfather Bhishmadev in such situation with arrows having pierced every inch of his body. And seeing this, Bhishmadev is basically trying to pacify the Pandavas. So we'll just refer to the slide deck once and then we go through the verses. So from text 12 to text 17, we will see Bhishmadev is glorifying the Pandavas by recollecting all the unlimited injustices that were meted out to the Pandavas, although they were such righteous persons following the path of Dharma. Bhishma recollects how the Pandavas, they were pious, they led religious lives, and they were always protected by the Brahmanas, by the Supreme Lord, as well as the religious principles. They were the sons of religion personified, especially Maharaj Yudhishthir. And later on, in the subsequent verses, we'll see these verses as well, but first we will see the overview of this section. Bhishma, he remembers that all this is possible, my dear Lord, only because of irreversible power of time, and which is none other than Lord Krishna himself. And why Lord acts based on this power of irreversible time, Bhishma also explains. This irreversible power of time, it is all pervading. Everyone is affected by it in all planets, just like the clouds are carried away by the wind. Power of time is irreversible by any power, despite Pandavas having been the sons of the religion personified, so on and so forth that we saw. And this power of irreversible time, according to Bhishma, is inconceivable. And subsequently, after explaining how these different happenings, some palatable, some unpalatable, happen in this world based on the will of the Lord, Bhishmadev concludes his talk by instructing Yudhishthir Maharaj by how to rule the kingdom by following this way of Dharma. And finally, he also offers his prayers to Lord Krishna before his departure. So all of this we will see one by one. So let's go back to Bhagavatam, text 12. Yeah, so from text 11 onwards, Bhishmadev is basically recollecting with deep grief, the injustices that were meted out to the Pandavas, despite so many ABCs, their qualifications. Prema Priya Jayashri Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
You
I'll
can
read the
direct-
shloka.
No, you can directly read the translation, Mother. We have quite a few verses. Yeah.
Translation. The sons of Maharaja Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishmadeva congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed by love and affection.
Yes. So here, Bhishmadev is seeing the pain in the eyes of the Pandavas, seeing them that that our dear great grandfather is in such a painful situation on the deathbed, and Bhishmadev wants to pacify them. So there are tears of affection both in the eyes of the Pandavas because of seeing the situation of Bhishmadev, and tears of ecstasy in the eyes of Bhishmadev, the tears of fulfillment that finally my dear grandchildren, who were all such virtuous and righteous persons, they have gotten their due finally. So that's why there are tears of ecstasy and satisfaction in the eyes of Bhishmadev. Yes, Mataji, purport?
Yeah, purport. When Maharaja Pandu died, his sons were all small children, and naturally they were brought up under the affection of elderly members of the royal family, specifically by Bhishmadeva. Later on, when the Pandavas were grown up, they were cheated by cunning Duryodhana and company. And Bhishmadeva, although he knew that the Pandavas were innocent and were unnecessarily put into trouble, could not take the side of the Pandavas for political reasons. At the last stage of his life, when Bhishmadeva saw his most exalted grandsons, headed by Maharaja Yudhishthira, sitting very silently at his side, the great warrior grandfather could not check his loving tears, which were automatically flowing from his eyes. He remembered the great tribulation suffered by his most pious grandsons. Certainly, he was the most satisfied man because of Yudhishthira's being enthroned in place of Duryodhana, and thus he began to congratulate them. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Next few verses, we will only see the translation. Yes, Mataji. Bhishmadev said.
Bhishmadeva said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffered for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations. Yet you are protected by the Brahmanas, God, and the religion." Yeah. Purport.
13.
Yeah. Purport. Yeah. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown, you suffered a great deal also because of your actions.
Here we can go through the purport.
Purport. The sufferings of Kunti Devi are doubly lamented. She suffered greatly because of her early widowhood and to get her minor children brought up in the royal family. And when her children were grown up, she continued to suffer because of her son's actions. So her sufferings continued. This means that she was destined to suffer by providence, and this one was to tolerate without being disturbed.
Yes, so the last statement is very important, that because we have taken to the path of devotional service, it does not mean that everything will be hunky-dory and everything will be well set up from the material point of view. In fact, we always say that there is not a single example in Srimad Bhagavatam of a devotee who did not have to undergo severe tribulations in their life. And we saw in the earlier chapter Kunti Devi herself recounting the difficult situation which she and the Pandavas went through. And here Bhishmadev is also expressing his deep grief because of the tribulations and the difficult situation which the Pandavas were put through, despite they following the path of virtue, despite they always being guided by the Brahmanas, despite they always having Lord Krishna as one of their family members and the guidance of Lord Krishna, Dhaumya Rishi, and so many other great personalities. And now Bhishmadev gives the reason of why all these unpalatable incidents, unpalatable things happen even to the great religious and righteous personalities like the Pandavas. Yes, Prem Priya Mataji.
Yeah. Translation. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind.
Yes. So here, not only Bhishmadev, but at different places within the scriptures, both in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we see this inevitable, the power of inevitable time being mentioned. And when we talk about the power of inevitable time, it just doesn't act in terms of material way. It also acts on the spiritual, in terms of spiritual endeavors also. So one time, around 1 or 2 years back, when His Grace Gauranga Prabhu was here in Singapore, he was giving a class in the temple, and he was explaining about the prosperity of the Vaishnava culture during the time of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. That he mentioned how Sri Radha Govinda temple, which is a grand, magnificent temple, built with red stones, which were at that particular point of time specifically reserved for building the palaces of the Mughal kings. So that red stone was granted for the building of the Radha Govinda temple by the great generals of Akbar, and even to a degree Akbar, the Mughal king, was also favorable. So favorably disposed towards Jiva Goswami. So we see that Prabhuji mentioned that although the Vaishnava culture was flourishing so much, and every day Goswamis along with the leading preachers, they used to hold their meetings in terms of how to coming up with the strategies for propagating Krishna consciousness in Radha Govinda temple. But he mentioned that now if we go, the deities, majority of the principal deities of the Goswamis, they are all in Jaipur. They are in Rajasthan because of the invasion by the subsequent Mughal kings and all. And the temple, although such a magnificent construction from that particular time, now it is mostly people go take darshan, but not many spiritual activities in terms of the the day-to-day activities in terms of planning of the preaching and all. It is not a executive place in terms of spreading the devotional service. So Prabhuji was mentioning that how the power of time not only acts on the material initiatives, but also as a devotees we have to be careful about spiritual initiatives and institutions as well, to protect ourselves from the power of time by following sincerely the instructions given by our founder Acharya. And Prabhupada himself was so careful about detailing out the instructions for the devotee, having seen by his own eyes the state and subsequent state of affairs in Gaudiya Math after the departure of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So the point is, from this verse, we understand from Bhishmadev is saying, this is all, that means all these palatable as well as non-palatable, unpalatable happenings in this world, they happen due to the influence of inevitable time. And even as devotee, one is not excused from it. So we have to be prepared to deal with it by following the instructions of our acharyas very, very sincerely to protect ourselves from it. Otherwise, it will surely act. And Bhishmadev says that nobody is exempted from this influence of the power of time. Just like the clouds are carried away by the wind and nobody can stop when there is a rain. Like recently, there was a surprising incident of flooding in Middle Eastern states like Dubai and so on. So when the clouds are carried away by the wind, no superpower can stop it. Similarly, the power of time cannot be stopped. It is inevitable. Any questions, comments, Prabhuji's on this? We will read some part of the purport.
Purport, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
Purport.
May I read?
Yes.
Yeah. There is control by time all over the space within the universe, as there is control by time all over the planets. All the big gigantic planets, including the sun, are being controlled by the force of air, as the clouds are carried by the force of air. Similarly, the inevitable kala or time controls even the action of the air and other elements. Everything, therefore, is controlled by the supreme kala, a forceful representative of the Lord within the material world. Thus, Yudhishthira should not be sorry for the inconceivable action of time. Everyone has to bear the actions and reactions of time as long as one is within the conditions of the material world. Yudhishthira should not think that he had committed sins in his previous birth and is suffering the consequence. Even the most pious has to suffer the condition of material nature. But a pious man is faithful to the Lord, for he is guided by the bona fide Brahmana and Vaishnava, following the religious principles. These three guiding principles should be the aim of life. One should not be disturbed by the tricks of eternal time. Even the great controller of the universe, Brahmaji, is also under the control of that time. Therefore, one should not grudge being thus controlled by time despite being a doer of religious principles.
Thank you. Thank you. So the point is, a devotee is in acknowledgement of the power of time, and he does not hold a grudge why a certain thing is happening to me despite me taking to devotional service. Because when such great personalities like the Pandavas are affected, what to speak of all of us? We are very, very neophytes compared to the Pandavas. So a devotee is basically accepts the what is it mentioned? The misery is compulsory, but the suffering is optional. So he accepts the situation gracefully without protesting or without having a rebellious attitude. I wanted to give one example. Yeah, what to speak of ordinary personalities and great devotees, even the Supreme Lord himself, when he appears, and this is just, of course, we cannot say that Supreme Lord is under the influence of time. Supreme Lord is the time, but he is showing through his own example how powerful this time factor is. We see that Lord Krishna, in his own family, the child of Varahadev and Bhumi Devi came out to be a demon, Bhaumasur. We see in the life of Sri Advaita Acharya, who is none other than the Supreme Lord Mahavishnu and Lord Sadashiv. Out of his 6 children, 3 were not so conducive, not so favorable to the path of devotional service. So if the Supreme Lord is showing through his own example that not everything will go as per the way we like, that means we have to be ready with unfavorable circumstances and situations upcoming in our life. So with this, we will conclude our discussion, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, but this last point is very important. Acknowledging the power of time in our life and aligning our actions accordingly, not protesting it, why it is happening the way it is happening, despite me being a devotee. Hare Krishna. So today we did not have many group activities, mainly because the group activity will come at the end of conclusion of these instructions of Bhishmadev, which is another till 17th, 18th verse. After that, we will have the group activities. Hare Krishna. Is there any comment, question, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Any thoughts you want to share? So today we saw a few important points, how Bhishmadev is teaching through his own example that no outside material condition can be an impediment for us to practice devotional service. He is receiving all these Brahmarshis, Rajarshis perfectly by his act of offering them sweet words and hearty reception through his sweet glances. And we also learned how Bhishmadev is teaching all of us to accept the power of inevitable time based on if for the righteous and most virtuous devotees of the Lord Pandavas, where the Lord is personally present, if this power of time can act through so many sufferings, then what to speak of all of us. And then subsequently the mitigation, how do we react to this power of time that Bhishmadev teaches, we will see in the next discussion. Hare Krishna. Lalita, Vinodini Mataji, Vandita, Tungavidya Mataji, any thoughts? Any questions? Ajit Tiwari Prabhu, Anand Vilas Prabhu, and other devotees.
Just to know, like, when will be the shloka recitation exam for?
We have it now after the class.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if there is no question, comment, then thank you all, Prabhuji, very much. And I hope this discussion, although part of it is quite heavy philosophically, I hope it is not scary and overwhelming. We should get encouragement that even if right now the life is going all good, there will be situations where we'll be tested thoroughly, and we have to be ready based on Bhishmadev's teachings. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhu, just one doubt. Sukadev Goswami, when he advised, also the full gang is there. And here also the full gang is there, right? In the sense for Bhishma. So how do they, is it like, I know it is beyond my mental understanding, but how is it they are able to do, Prabhu, like those days without WhatsApp or communication?
When you were half through, I anticipated that the question would be, how do they get the updates?
Yes, Prabhu.
Very good. See, these are so powerful personalities. Some of them, they are like Trikal. They know what is happening at other place just based on their spiritual stature. So they don't need the material means of communication.
Got it, Prabhu. And also Vinayaka, this is my doubt, in the sense Indra is a position, right? So there's like different Indra, same way with Manu. So is Ganesha, that is Ganesha also a position, or it's a personality? Like Shiva is a personality, right? He does not change.
Yeah, so Lord Shiva, specifically it is mentioned that Sadashiv is the origin and there are 12 Rudras. So basically when we refer to Lord Shiva, it is one of those 12 Rudras. So that Jiva Tattva, Shambhu Tattva and Vishnu Tattva, these are all fixed. Rest all are Jivas, that means they would be changing. But when we refer to Lord Ganeshji, it is our current Ganeshji. When we refer to Lord Indra, it is our current Indra.
Clear, Prabhu. And Ganeshji will also come under Jiva Tattva, is that right, Prabhu?
Yes, correct.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. And one way to understand it is, what is this Bhagavatam? This Bhagavatam is the short summary of the activities of the Lord which happened in this day of Brahma within this Manvantara. Even different Manvantaras, if we refer to, the setups slightly differ. Like Narada Muni's story, we see that the son of a maidservant, it happened in the previous Kalpa of Lord Brahma. So majority of the activities descriptions in Bhagavatam are from the current day, from the current Manvantara. So even when we refer to these great personalities like Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva is not the Supreme Lord in all Manvantaras. In the current Manvantara, he is the Supreme Lord. So this Bhagavatam is mentioned as a current setup.
Current setup. And my last question, sorry, Prabhu, is Srimad Bhagavatam, you said 2 editions. Which one you are talking about? We all have 18 books, right? One is a bigger size book, one is smaller size book. Are you talking?
So I'm talking about the bigger size book where at the end of the first canto, the dynasties are mentioned in great detail in the form of tree chart. So smaller one, I didn't get a chance to check. I have it in Pune, but here at home, I have bigger Bhagavatam, 18 volume. So where the tree chart is mentioned, the family tree.
Got it, Prabhu. Sure. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So whenever time permits, all of us, we can go through that tree chart to see how Lord Krishna's intelligence is working in terms of giving devotional service by placing his devotees at every single important point in the dynasty. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can you make me the host before you leave?
Yeah, yes, Mataji. 1 second. Vamcha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Vaishnav Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.